Hello, and welcome to the Movie Universe. I'm your host, Movie Fan. Today, I'm going to be talking about something very unusual. I recently watched an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd where he talked about what he considers one of the worst movies he had ever seen. And, well, in the words of the nerd, it's just something they wanted to talk about. So, I figured I'll put my 2 cents in on this. If you haven't seen this, he's basically talking about the worst film that he saw when he was in film school, and that would be a 1967 movie called Wavelength. What is Wavelength? It is literally nothing. And that's no lie. All that happens is you stare at a wall. That's the movie. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. You are literally staring at a wall. And some small stuff happens, like the camera kind of barely zooms in closer, and I mean barely, and a guy drops dead on the floor, so it seems. Some girl calls the police. Meanwhile, the camera's just carefully zooming in more and more and more and more. And while the camera's moving in closer, you're hearing high-pitched sounds like this. I know, seriously, it's horrible. Then eventually, you come to your main goal in this thing. You're staring at the picture on the wall. And then, it's over. Yeah. Just the idea of that alone is bad enough, but this movie actually goes for 45 minutes. I'm not kidding. It's actually going on for 45 minutes. What the hell were they smoking when they came up with this? And, I couldn't help but look this up just to see if it was all that he said it was. And I found it on YouTube. And yeah, it is literally all of that. I figured he wasn't lying, but this is one of those things you had to see to believe. You know what I mean? So I looked it up. But of course, I didn't torture myself, so I got off easy, because he had to watch this in film school. He had no way to escape. Whereas for me, I hit the fast forward button a lot, and rightfully so, because, oh my God, seriously. And while I was looking this up, I was thinking, there is no possible way that this really made it to theaters, because no one would have wanted anything like this in the movie theaters. No one would have even sat through it. There's no way. And if someone sat through it, oh my God, they must have been really high on drugs. Come to think of it, the director must have been high on drugs when he came up with this, because to me, this is one of those stupid independent films that they do in college all the time. Those worthless films that mean absolutely nothing, and they just put random silent music in there, and it's black and white, no other sound going on, and you just see stuff happening, and you don't know what the hell it is that's going on at all. That's what this feels like to me. And because of this, I couldn't help but wonder who in their right mind would come up with something like this. And what I found turned out to be more surprising than I thought. One, this was not made in America. No, this was actually made by a Canadian director named Michael Snow. The name doesn't ring any bells to me, and I looked up the movies that he apparently did, and I've never seen them, so I got nothing. But apparently, this was an experimental film he did, and it had to have been an underground film. There's no way this really made it to theaters. There's just no way. And because he was Canadian, this was made in Canada, which totally surprised me, because I would have thought that the Canadians would have had, I don't know, better standards than this. But then again, this was made back in 1967 when the US and Canada was doing a lot of this. So that's probably what did it. It had to have been. There's just no other explanation other than doing a lot of drugs and thinking, dude, how about we just film a wall? And then we'll just zoom in a little closer each time, man. You'd have to see this to believe it. In fact, just looking at the image right now, you could tell that the quality is garbage. And the sad thing is, this is no accident. This is all done on purpose. This film quality is literally done like this. And all the weird filters and the blinding light. I don't know what the hell this guy was smoking when he did this, but clearly he must have been on some serious drugs. He was probably smoking crystal meth or something. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I'd put in my 2 cents on that. If you dare look this up, you'll find it on YouTube, believe me, but I really wouldn't recommend it for the obvious reasons. It's bad. This is beyond explanations. I've said that before, but this is literally beyond explanations. And like I said before, this feels more like an independent film that's done in college. And I wonder if it was, because really no studio would touch this. Now, before I go, let me say this in closing. The nerd may have been right about this being terrible, and there's no doubt about that. It's terrible. But to call this an actual movie? No, because clearly this was done independently. There is no way this was done by a real studio. No way. A terrible film? Yes. A movie? No. But either way, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. This is Movie Fan, signing off.